Welcome, Sagittarius, to your Aries new moon 1 month deep dive forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Each lunation has its own unique identity. We can talk about new moons broadly, a time of setting our intentions, and the host, Aries, very much about initiation and passion. But I'm going to share with you the exact moment on the 17th of April and at 27 degrees 28 when the sun and the moon merge, but purely from a Sagittarius viewpoint. By the end of the video, in terms of your energy, work, relationships, and finances, you'll know what's upcoming over the next 4 weeks. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. And please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So on the screen is the event chart. Now, the big takeout is that at 27 degrees and 28, it's the first new moon for 8 that isn't at 28 degrees. So that hugely rare synchronicity has come to an end. But it's also in the last decan of the sign of Aries. That last 10 degrees is subruled by your ruler, Jupiter. So it's a buoyant place for the combination to be. They are very close to a fixed star called Vertex, not the same as Vertex in astrology, which can be a little bit difficult and ironically can be about our welfare because Chiron, the so-called wounded healer, very, very close to the duo, and the sun did apply to Chiron exactly on the 16th. So this can be a healing new moon. So new moons are a chance to perhaps change up our thinking, refresh our approach. But for you, this collective, which is so phenomenally rare in the sign of Aries, is in your fifth house. And that has an echo of the sign of Leo, because the fifth house is where we can strut our stuff, particularly with Mars in the house. We can show more confidence about our talent, individuality, Aries, but also our flair. And because we also have Neptune and Mercury in a coalesced conjunction, and Mars and Saturn in one that's going to become exact on the 19th for the first time in 28 years, it really is a very, very unique celestial lineup. So let's just think about Chiron. Chiron has a reputation of being where we're going to feel pain in our natal chart. And I feel that can be true, whether it is by house or by the zodiac sign it's in. So in the sign of Aries, what it's been pushing us collectively to do, because it spends more time in Aries than any other zodiac sign since February 2019, is to work on being in touch with our individuality. Because we live in a world through social media, which has a lot to do with sharing images, but in a way it's quite competitive. But there can also be the need to build up followers and so forth and so on. And of course, some people would be brilliant at being very individual. But for many of us, I think we can lose our identity a little bit. So Chiron in Aries is asking us to get in touch with that. But the potential with the new moon is to take that really seriously. But one of the things that gets less spoken about Chiron is that Chiron essentially was, if you like, a Greek life coach. So whether it was through herbs, whether it was through teaching the other gods to fight, or whether it was through astrology or astronomy, all of the same at that time, this was a person imbued in fantastic wisdom. And people with Chiron in Aries in the fifth house probably are quite brilliant at encouraging people, especially their children, to manifest their talents. They might be involved in the dramatic or artistic fields, perhaps even in sport, but can have a real strength through that Chiron. So Chiron can be our superpower. So wherever you've got Chiron in your natal chart, even if that can be where we can feel the pain, it can also be where we give the most goodness. Why do we feel the pain? Well, the unique and supreme irony of Chiron is wherever we're particularly effective in helping people is where we feel we probably get seen and respected and appreciated the least. So it may be the person who does all that coaching of kids after school, swimming, athletics, at times could feel that no one really uh, looks to their talents and gives them encouragement in the way they do to others. And that is something quite complex. But the fifth house can be about romance, but it can also be about your attractiveness, Sagittarius. So if you don't feel quite as whole as you could do, whether in terms of your body image, your weight, particular looks, or you don't feel even if you're, put together very well, that you have the so-called intrinsic magic to draw a lover to you, all of those strands could come up quite strongly on this event. And because we have Neptune, the planet of dreams, but also of illusions, very close to Mercury. If you're wanting to build a connection to someone at the moment romantically, chattily, flirtily, that can create some possibilities. Great if you go to watch a movie together, but also it could create some distortion. And then Mars combining with Saturn at the end of this week, if it's not happening for you around whatever talent you have, a supreme sense of frustration could build up by the end of this week. But I want you to know that also it can be an opportunity to dig down into your deeper resources. Another thing to say is that Pluto, the planet of change, links fabulously well and perfectly to Mars. If you have got a message that you want to share with people and your enthusiasm is red hot, the warmth and passion of Aries and the fact that Mars is the ruler of the sign and is at home can help you to articulate that with tremendous amounts of vigor, enthusiasm, but also authenticity. Now, if you're in a romantic relationship that isn't going quite as well as you would like, how do we approach that with Chiron in the mix? It's a really challenging one because we live in a world again where maybe our expectations are quite high. And if someone isn't showing us the respect they should do, or the connection in terms of attraction has declined a little bit, how do you reinvigorate that when dull old Saturn is in the house and for the next 2 years? Well, the answer to that, quite frankly, is hard work. And I think all the best relationships do require a lot of commitment and also the knowledge that none of them probably are entirely perfect. But I want to tell you that Jupiter, your ruler, is on this particular lunation in an almost perfect link with Venus. So if you're wanting to do better around finances, the fifth house can be about speculation. Venus money, Jupiter luck, and Venus the lesser planet of fortune. That is very helpful to you. If you're wanting to do something where you've done your research, you're pretty sure on what you're doing, so you can make a big move on the back of this new moon, which could pay off handsomely too. But the fifth house can also be to a degree about risk. And if there is someone you're drawn to, nothing's certain. So what Chiron could be making you aware of is if you do have that self-limiting language to try to stop and drop anything like that, because that energy is being manifested outwards and whoever you're interested in are going to pick it up. Now I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finance. But if you'd like to order your personal horoscopes, I've reduced the price so you pay for one and get three. Please see the link below. Why have I done that? I'm passionate about astrology. I want to share it with more people, but also it helps you to understand your life journey in a more profound way. And I'm understanding that people are feeling the pinch. Three for the price of one. And one of those charts is a forecast, your transits. The third is your draconic analysis, so your more soul karmic chart. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your Gemini 84-year cycle return video, that's on the screen. Very exciting for relationships. And if you've yet to watch your deep dive monthly forecast for April on the screen now, Sagittarius. If you'd like to work with me directly, please see my testimonials below. And if you would like to sign up for your free daily horoscope, if you've yet to do so, fire to your device each morning for your celestial pit stop please see the link for that too. So the fifth house can be about romance, but it can be about the more raunchy side of romance. The seventh house is more about the collaboration. So what I would say is if you are not in a relationship, if there is a wound from an old relationship that's left a real scar, it's totally understandable that you may be a little tentative for making a move. But on this particular new moon, the planet of change, but also deeper inner resources, Pluto linking with Mars, the planet of desire, in such a positive way. If you really like someone, do you know, if you don't make that move, even if it doesn't work out, you'll never know. But Saturn could see you resistant to that risk. You need to be sure that what you're exchanging in terms of images or messages reflects you, with Mercury in the conjunction with Neptune. Maybe you could overshare. Maybe you could perhaps actually rather magically captivate someone if you go about it the right way. But I think there is lots more opportunities with this than there are challenges. But also, if you do feel that you encourage a lot of people, you're very supportive, but you don't feel you get it much back, work on releasing the expectation. It won't get you anywhere, and you could shift that Chiron vibe somewhat. And then with this combination of these guys in the house of money, or the sign of money, Taurus in the sixth house, practical moves around your finances could pay off handsomely towards now and the end of June, particularly if you're open to being more speculative. As far as your professional situation is concerned, I think you need to be creative at the moment. If that's not really coming to life, think about who you work for or how you work. Is it a time to consider more fulsomely self-employment? And in terms of physical energy, Saturn can be a challenge, we know, at all times. The fifth house can be pleasure. I think if you're burning the candle at both ends, you're going to feel it. All the best, Sagittarius. Take care and goodbye.